The following program does not offer personal medical advice. Please consult your doctor before using any treatment or product we cover. Welcome to Go to Health Media with your host, Jonathan Marks. We provide a welcoming environment where experts educate you on important health topics, answer your questions, and provide information from which you can benefit in consultation with your doctor. You can visit and subscribe to the show at gotohealthmedia.com. And now, here is Jonathan Marks. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another show for Go to Health Media. My name is Jonathan Marks. Welcome. We're glad you're here with us today. I didn't know this. Did you know that there are 48 million caregivers in the U.S.? That's 1 in 7 of us. Amazing individuals who provide for parents, children, disabled friends, or relatives. Unfortunately, it can be a stressful job. 40% say they rarely feel relaxed. 60% say caregiving has increased their levels of stress, and caregiving can feel isolating when you're stuck at home or in an institution. Half of adult caregivers have avoided a personal trip with their care recipient due to the difficulties involved. But wait, help is on the way. Vacations with your loved ones can create memories that last a lifetime, but you need the right resources and know-how to ensure smooth travel. Today, we are presenting a caregiver's guide to travel. Our guest is an AARP Caregiving Expert who is sharing how to plan ahead and create an incredible vacation for both caregivers and their recipients. Allow me to introduce Amy Goyer, AARP's National Family Caregiving Expert. She moderates the Family Caregivers discussion group on AARP's Facebook page. She has more than 35 years of professional experience serving and advocating for older adults, children, and families, and people with disabilities. She has been a family caregiver her entire life, caring for her grandparents, parents, sisters, and other relatives and friends. She writes extensively for AARP about her experiences in caring for both her parents and others. She's also written 3 books and appears regularly as a caregiving authority on network news shows, including NBC's Today, Dr. Phil, CNN, NPR, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, and People. That's a lot. Welcome to the show, Amy. How are you today?
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm doing great. How about you?
Good. Now, is this a new program that AARP is launching?
AARP has had caregiving as a high priority for many years. I've been in this role for over 15 years, and I think the thing is, we have so many family caregivers, and family caregivers need support. We are the backbone of the long-term care system, but many times we are isolated. We are not getting the support that we need. It can be detrimental to the caregiver, and so it's something that we look at all the various issues of caregiving, and travel is just one of the latest things we've taken a look at.
I never would have thought of travel. Why is it so important for caregivers and their loved ones to take trips together? Because usually I think of caregivers stuck at home.
Right. Well, that's part of why it's so important. We get very isolated. And what we found in our 2024 Caregiving and Travel Survey was that family caregivers and care recipients can experience very positive impacts from traveling together. Family caregivers, about 50% of them say that they have improvements in their emotional well-being, and about a third of them say they have better mental clarity after a trip. So that tells you, the stress, the always being in one place all the time, the isolation. Getting out can be good for a family caregiver, and for the care recipients, about half have improvements in their own emotional and mental health. It's good to have a change of scenery, and most importantly, it's important to go to family events like weddings and reunions and to see family members over time. That's part of life that needs to keep going as long as it can.
Yeah. So tell us, what are some tips for planning a trip? Because it must be somewhat more complicated. So share with us how we can do this.
Sure, absolutely. We know about half of family caregivers, they hold off on travel because they are concerned about details like accessibility and all the various issues that to deal with. So I say the most important thing is planning. You need to spend some time ahead of a trip and really think through all of those details. And then you can feel more secure in it, and your loved ones too, because they need to know what to expect, what's going to be expected of them, how are things going to work. I think most of the disease is around the day-to-day logistics of a trip. If you want to start with car travel, the majority of family caregivers are taking their loved ones places in cars, either personal vehicle or a rental car. And that's partially because, it's easier in some ways. You can put as much as you need in the car. You're on your own schedule. You need to think about the fact that it's probably going to take you longer than it would if you weren't traveling with your loved one you're caring for. They may need to make more frequent stops. They're going to need to go to the restroom more frequently, or they have very sore joints and they need to get up and move around more frequently. So plan on stopping every 2 hours or more frequently. Look along the route and see where there are accessible bathrooms. Logistically, where are we going to park? How are we going to do these certain things? Are there certain dietary needs that my loved one needs? How are we going to make sure they get the food that they need along the way? And then, think about their comfort. In addition to getting up and stretching when they need to, maybe an extra pillow or a blanket, in the car or on the airplane, really. And then thinking about, okay, maybe they are going to be more content on this trip if they are listening to their favorite radio show or their audio book, or maybe listening to their favorite music. You might have headphones for them to do that, so that then you can be listening to something else in the front seat while they're in the back seat, or on an airplane you can be watching a movie while they listen to something else. That actually goes a long way for making the trip go faster and making everyone more comfortable.
So you just described traveling by car. Is it possible, or is it feasible to travel by airplane as well?
Absolutely. I traveled with both my parents on airplanes and my sister. My grandparents did not travel on airplanes, but they traveled on the train. The key things with airplane travel is to think about navigating the airport. Sometimes family caregivers will, if they have options of what airport to fly out of, they'll fly out of a smaller, less complicated airport, if that's a possibility. If you can get wheelchair assistance at the airport, it'll keep your loved ones from getting worn out. It'll make it easier for you to deal with carry-on luggage and tickets and all of those things. And you can also get the assistance going through security. I did that with my parents, and it was just, the helpers were so wonderful and made you feel like you're not on your own, that type of thing. Speaking of security, that's one of the key things with airplane travel. So you can contact TSA, and they have a site called TSA Cares, and there they have information if you have disabilities, if you're an older adult, if you have all kinds of various issues. They have information for you there. You can find out, is it important to get travel with a note from a doctor saying what my medical conditions are, or do I need to have some paperwork around my having a pacemaker and going through security? They'll tell you everything you need to know there. And again, the wheelchair person really helps. They just help you navigate all of it.
So that's TSA Cares.
Yes.
Good. That's great. Thank you for that reference. Go to Health Media wants to interview your healthcare organization in depth for 1 hour. Our primary mission is to help healthcare organizations like yours get your word out. That fulfills our secondary mission, which is to educate the public about the best healthcare alternatives for them. Who wants to interview you in depth for an hour? We do. At Go to Health, we take that 1 hour interview and do more with it than your leftover turkey did after Thanksgiving. We publish the full interview on YouTube and 8 podcast networks. We create video shorts and post them on YouTube and our social media sites. You take those same videos and post them on your website and social media. We do keyword research and create content from your interview to place in blogs and social media posts, tagging you. We create a press release that puts your web address on more than 350 news websites. All this from one simple interview. Our efficiency and success at social media makes this affordable. We can do this once, or we have a 6-month program where we repeat the cycle. Who else will do this kind of marketing for you? Go to Health Media will. Schedule a no-cost consult with us today at gotohealthmedia.com. If I have a relative or I'm taking care of somebody who has dementia, is that safe to travel with somebody with dementia, or what guides or tips would you recommend for me?
Well, a lot of it depends on what stage of dementia they're in. I certainly traveled a lot with my dad when he had Alzheimer's and he was in the earlier stages. You know, he was still needed a lot of extra help and everything, but he could do it. Later stages, I wouldn't have done that. So you're going to think about a person, you're going to think about their comfort and their ease with change. Can be hard for someone with dementia. You're going to be thinking about, okay, what do they need to feel safe and secure? Maybe the routine, very important to maintain bedtimes and nap times or anything, you know, the daily routine, when you eat meals, that type of thing. As much as you can stick to the routine, the better. For my dad, my mom was his North Star. So as long as she was around, he might ask a lot more questions, but he was okay, you know. And it might be he had a service dog who also served in that capacity. I heard from a caregiver where she and her family rented a beach house and her dad had dementia, and he did pretty well, various challenges, but he had a dog who was a pet who was very important to him, and all week he worried about that dog and asked about the dog. So they knew the next trip they took, they had to bring that dog along. So think about what is important to them. Maybe they have certain things that make them feel kind of calm, safe, watching a certain TV show, listening to a book on tape, maybe certain type of magazines. My dad always had the sports page that seemed to just be a sense of security for him. So think about those things, and then think about safety. Someone with dementia may have concern about where should I be? Where should I be going? My dad was always asking that question, and they may try to go. They may feel like it's time to go home, and
Yes.
they may try to leave, and they might get lost. So you want to think about the safety measures. I'll tell you a quick story. I was staying in a hotel once, and I walked into the lobby, and there was a gentleman walking around, and clearly he was disoriented and scared and confused. And I could tell pretty quickly he had dementia because of my experience working in this field and taking care of my dad. But the hotel staff were pretty young. They didn't have experience with this. They really didn't know what to do. So I was helping out. They eventually figured out what room he was staying in, and his son was asleep. He thought his father was asleep. His father got up and left the room, and he didn't wake up. So I talked to him about, you can use technology, it can be very helpful. You can travel with a floor mat alarm, which is not that hard to throw in the car. And then you put it by the door of the hotel room, and then that alarm's going to go off the minute their feet touch it if they're going out of the door. Or you could put a motion sensor alarm. They should have some kind of identification, like a wrist bracelet, something like that, so that if they do get lost, someone helping them can know, who they are, who to call, how to find that information out. You might also think about other safety factors, whether you have dementia or not. There may be mobility issues. So if you're staying in a family member's house, let's say, they may not be used to having someone with mobility concerns staying there. So they may not have grab bars in the bathroom, or they may have a lot of stairs or too much furniture to move the walker around in. So think about those things ahead of time, talk to them. My sister had a condition that was very hard for her to travel and mobility issues. So when we all gathered for my mom's memorial service, we got her a hotel room, and it was an accessible hotel room. She was much more comfortable than she would have been at my cousin's house that had a lot of stairs and not the bathrooming and all of those types of things that she needed. So think about, the details can really make a big difference in how you enjoy it as the caregiver, and also how the recipients enjoy it.
Thank you for all that. That was just fabulous. Very, very informative. So you just mentioned at the end there, and I wanted to ask you about this. What are the benefits of having accomplished this? What does everybody feel? You've gotten out of the house, you've had a successful trip, whether maybe I'm sure there'd be challenges, whatever, but what feelings do people have when they return home after having had one of these trips?
Well, we hear that caregivers have, improved emotional well-being, and it can be very good for your mental health, but it can also be physically tiring. So it's important to think about, when you come back, planning some downtime when you're back home with your loved one. Let's not have a doctor appointment the next day. Let's have a few days at home where we don't go anywhere. Maybe you get a break and you have someone else, family member or paid caregiver, come in and take care of your loved one so you can sleep for a couple of days. So just be prepared for that. But think about what you want to look back on and remember. I remember taking my grandmother to see her sister, who she didn't get to see very often. And they were, getting up in their 90s. And it was just so important to her. And that was the bottom line. It didn't matter the troubles we had along the way or anything else. It was that she spent time with her sister.
Yes.
And that's what you want to focus on. And know that when you come back, that's going to be the most beautiful thing. As a caregiver, it might be that, let's say you do the beach house for a week and you're bringing your mom along and your kids and everybody's there. Maybe it's important to you to have a walk on the beach every day. And you're going to ask family members to help out with that so that they can take care of your mom so you get that alone time. Those are the things you want to think about ahead of time. So when you come back, you had the uplifting aspect of the trip that you need.
Wonderful. Good. Amy, thanks so much. You are a blessing. I mean, not only to your family with all the care you've given, but also to the rest of us who have people who need care. You're involved with AARP. You have a Facebook group and you monitor that, right?
Right. AARP Family Caregivers Discussion Group on Facebook. We have over 19,000 members in the group right now.
Wow.
In fact, we have a conversation going on in the group right now about traveling with your loved ones and what are your tips. And everybody shares the things that have worked for them on every kind of caregiving issue that you can imagine. And,
Wonderful.
we as caregivers learn the most from each other. So always ask a caregiver for their tips when you're taking on something new.
That's wonderful. And also AARP has a website, and at Go to Health, we like to provide information, but we always like to provide something for you to do afterwards to learn more. So please go visit this website to learn more. It's aarp.org/travelwithcare. And we will put that link on our website. We'll also put a couple of downloads from AARP on our website, along with a link to the Facebook group so that you can join there as well.
That would be great. And if you can include aarp.org/caregiving, that's our go-to place for all caregiving issues.
Wonderful. Good. Amy, thanks so much for being with us today, and God bless the work that you do. It's just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for addressing this really important issue.
Thanks. Take care, everybody. We'll be back with another show. Glad you were here and hope it helps. This is Jonathan Marks with Go to Health Media. Take care, Amy. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in this week to Go to Health Media. Be sure to join Jonathan Marks and another health expert next time. You can also catch the program on your favorite podcast platform. Until our next show, be sure to visit us on the web at gotohealthmedia.com and elevate your life.